That's it. So what are we going to do? Do we just carry on? Do we just carry on marching forward to the beat of the drum of the Illuminati and the control groups and the slave drivers? Or do we say, okay, well, we need to start pushing in a different direction. We don't want to start conflict or war because that hasn't brought us anywhere. But very slowly and gently start moving in a slightly different direction. And waking up and realizing that if we just gently push this thing, just like a giant ship, if you keep, exerting a little bit of pressure on the one ship, slowly but surely, it'll go off course.
Interesting. Now, do you have any ideas about how that could be done as far as maybe forming intentional communities, or what's your vision for that? I know there's a Venus project and all kinds of interesting things that are being proposed. Do you have any gut feeling about what might be a positive direction to take for us?
Yeah, I do. I started a consciousness movement, I suppose you can call it, called contributionism. And I really borrowed this from the ancient civilizations, unconscious of it when I did it, and adapted it, looked at all the existing models that we've had, because if we agree that every single socio-political system we've had as the human race has failed us, which I believe is quite evident and quite obvious.
Yes.
So here we are. We're pretty screwed. Everything has failed us. We've got to put something into place that is completely different, something so different and so radical that we have not tried it yet. We can't go back and try and rehash fascism or rehash communism or rehash capitalism. They don't work.
None of them work.
So we got to propose something completely different. And I propose the system that I call contributionism, where you take money out of the equation, which is the tool of enslavement. By taking money out of the equation, you immediately remove the concept of barter or trade. That must go as well. Anything that has exchange or attaches value to anything must be completely removed from the system. And at the same time, you need to explain to people that what it is that people need to start to get involved in is contributing, and I call it contributionism because it's a social structure where everybody contributes what it is that they're passionate about or good at, naturally God-given talents. They contribute to their community to the best of their ability for the greater benefit of all, not, well, if I give this to you, what do I get in return? That's the wrong. We've been down this road for too long, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't, no.
So it's a conscious movement that everybody contributes to the greater benefit of all in whatever community or society they live in, and this is a slight departure from some of the movements that I've seen out there on the internet and so forth, where they say we must go back to, living off the land and everybody must grow vegetables and all this. That's also the wrong way to go.
Right.
Because rocket scientists don't want to grow vegetables. Okay.
Right.
Rocket scientists must do rocket science, and farmers must farm.
Right.
And
I like
shoemakers must design shoes, and guys that design free energy must work on free energy, and guys that design green cities must design new green cities, and so it must go. This is how it works.
Yes.
Don't force people to grow vegetables, because not everybody is good at that.
Right. Yes, I've tried my hand a few times, and it's not always a winning proposition.
No. And yet there are some people that do it so comfortably and so easily.
Well, yes, of course. And there may have been a time when our grandparents were farmers, and they were adept at farming and milking cattle and things like that. But those days are over. They cannot be gone back to, except maybe in small circles of people who enjoy that and love the ranch and love the cattle and allow them to walk freely and don't injure them or cause them pain or give them chemicals like Monsanto's RBGEH or whatever it is.
That's a whole nother can of worms you're opening there. The control of food on this planet. I mean, it is just absolutely, it's absurd, and most people are completely oblivious and unaware of the attack and the control of food supply on this planet.
Oh, absolutely. And the genetically modified food and the nanobacteria that they're using on meats and things, I mean, it goes beyond anything we can even conceive of. It's a train wreck headed for a brick wall.
Right. Now, just to come back to the question you asked, what do we do? So I propose this concept called contributionism. But you can't just start it by little, somewhere hidden in the mountains, little communities that are self-sufficient in that, because it's not you're not going back to Stone Age. You're not going back to living in caves. You're not going back to the Dark Ages. We're moving forward with technology beyond belief. What contributionism brings to the table is an absolute explosion in abundance in every possible field that you can imagine, from science and technology, rocket science, to free energy, to the production of foods, to the growth of communities, to the control and the happiness and the growth and explosion of arts and culture. Every level of societal structure just explodes in abundance. Now, this sounds a bit utopian to people that have never contemplated this or don't really know what I'm talking about. But believe me, after 5 years of research into this, the more I study it, the more I work on it, the more abundant and obvious it is. It is spectacular.
Well, Michael, I agree with you totally on that, and I've been for those ideas for some time in one form or another, especially eliminating money and the barter system. However, is there a problem that on the horizon in the fact that the controllers have acquired a great deal of power, and they control the military, they control the three-letter alphabet soup agencies, all of the weapons, and so on and so forth. Isn't there some kind of point at which those two systems have to be diverged or divested from? We can't be controlled and run by an elite that wants to use us for, slave labor and for energy, and be free at the same time. They're incompatible.
Of course. And this is where I see an interesting opportunity. Use the tools that they've set up for their own control, called democracy and capitalism, to beat them at their own game. Okay, so it becomes very interesting. The contributionism is not something you can just walk into overnight. It's going to take a few transitionary steps. And that's unfortunately what it is, because that's the mess that we're in. Unless by some absolute stroke of luck, or fortune or whatever, misfortune if you want to call it that, we have a complete meltdown of the satellite system and communication system, and by some giant solar flare that comes in 2012 as a result of the galactic frequencies lining up for the energy sources. All this is quite possible, and some people predict that it may happen.
And that would be a great leveling tool, because nobody would have any money at that point.
Exactly. So if there's a global meltdown and every computer and anything that works on electronics just gets fried, you can't communicate with anybody, you can't drive any car with an electrical system, you're basically back to square one. And now, this is when this ancient knowledge of the use of frequency as an energy source kicks in. Okay.
I see.
So suddenly... You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah. And many say that the pyramids were moved with sound technology.
Exactly. It is all, Lance, this is the amazing thing. Once I realized that the ancient structures of Southern Africa were built with the knowledge of sound frequency and using sound and frequency as a tool as a source of energy, suddenly everything makes absolute sense. Stonehenge makes sense. Great Pyramids start to make sense. All the other ancient civilizations, all the other structures around the world start to make sense. They were all linked to the generation of energy using frequency, and specifically sound frequency, as a source of energy. And this is why I believe that we're reaching the strange conclusion of some weird prophecy that I said earlier. Because if we have a meltdown and we go back to, we got to start all over, and there's no money to control the people, and if the Illuminati think they're going to control the people because they've got gold, they completely misguided, and this is where they've completely lost the plot and missed the boat. Because gold is going to mean absolutely nothing.
You can't eat a Mona Lisa or a bar of gold.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Food,
yeah.
a plate of food is going to be a lot more worth a lot more than any kind of gold, unless you can convert the gold to monoatomic elements and start using it as an energy source. That's something else again.
That brings up an interesting question that I would like to ask you about. What about the idea that gold has been used, like the Philosopher's Stone, by the Anunnaki to create basically eternal life? And you bring up the idea in the book that we were originally created from their genes, and we would have lived as long a life as they would have, but they snipped some of the DNA, and which gave us disease and shorter lives. And so our natural state could be to live for hundreds, if not thousands of years, disease-free and eternally young. Yeah,
well, that's exactly that. I think they use the...
and the gold, the orme, or the ormus, or... mana.
Yeah, exactly.
Mana.
All of that, and it's all linked. And when you start studying it from the Bible and other ancient texts, and what we're finding in South Africa now, it's all linked. It's all linked to the understanding and the knowledge of monoatomic gold and monoatomic elements in the platinum group metals as well, and using that as an energy source and for all kinds of other things. But that is another interesting, very interesting, and I suppose a very important aspect of this debate. But at this stage, we don't really know, other than the really secret laboratories of the Black Ops, how to convert gold to monoatomic gold or other elements into gold. What we do know is that gold was a highly sought-after element and cannot be separated from humanity. It's just not possible. The origins of humankind are inextricably linked to the pursuit of gold.
Now, what about the idea that, I know a lot of people are concerned about this one, so I feel like I should probably ask you. I have some kind of need to ask you. The idea that the Anunnaki were really housed in Nibiru, and that they cycle around here somewhere around every 3,600 years, and that they're about due for another return. Well, one thing, where did the Anunnaki go? Did they go underground? Are some of them still here, do you think? Are they on some of the other planets? Are they overlooking us? Have they changed their attitude towards us over the thousands of years watching us evolve? Or what's your gut feeling about that?
I think all of the above, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all of the above. But I think the most important one is that they've evolved themselves to higher consciousness levels, and realize that what they did here is not necessarily so cool, and are trying to make up for some of the mess that they caused, and fix some of the mess that they've caused, and lining and working together with other extraterrestrials and other advanced beings or higher conscious beings out there to try and restore the planet to a stable planet, not being gutted and mined and completely ripping out the guts of this planet. Because remember that the gold and the platinum group metals, especially that is inside planet Earth, that is actually that's like its heart, it's its energy source. It's the thing that keeps the planet healthy and balanced.
Wow.
And this is not just something that I'm saying because I feel this. I know this from research that I've done and the work that I'm doing with the brilliant Willem de Swart in Johannesburg, who has pretty much decoded all this stuff with his numeric science and shows how all these things fit together. It's the fact that the atomic number of gold is 79. And the polar axis diameter of Earth is 7,900 miles. This is not accidental. These numbers are all inextricably linked. When you start working with these numbers, you realize that we're working with floating point. When 79 and 7,900 is all the same, or 7.9, it's all the same meaning. The numbers have the same meaning. And gold plays a very important part in keeping this planet in its equilibrium and keeping it healthy. And that's being ripped out of its Earth and taken off this planet. That causes dis-ease in this planet.
Yes.
And it's not a good thing.
Well, that and the destruction of the rainforest and the poverty and the disease and the mining and the list is so long now that you could, we could talk about that for an hour and not be done with it.